Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Coming up tonight in Our News, British Colonial Hilton to close down next month. A woman murdered outside prayer meeting. And no plane wreckage found following an hours-long search. Welcome to Our News, and thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, the British Colonial Hilton is expected to close its doors next month, according to Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper, who said government is trying its hardest to avoid the closure, which could impact over 100 Bahamian jobs.
We have met with the owners. We've spoken with the general manager. They do have some preliminary plans to close on February 15th. We are working with them to see how we can cause this not to happen.
Over 120 jobs hang in the balance as financial challenges faced by the historic hotel could result in its closure. Government has now jumped in to assist in preserving value for the property and the level of activity. The tourism minister said while he would rather the hotel make the announcement, government is in negotiations in an effort to keep the Hilton's doors open.
We're hoping that the hotel will remain open. We're discussing how we might bring some support to the table, not financial necessarily, but speaking with some of our other partners to see if we might help them to bridge the gap on some of their issues.
Still, no word on how the closure would affect the Point in Margaritaville. China State Construction Engineering Company has owned the Hilton since a 2014 purchase. As for whether this closure will be permanent, Cooper says he prefers if the owners of the property spoke to that issue.
As you know, the owners of the Hilton are the same owners that own the Point in Margaritaville. So they have an ongoing interest in keeping the property open. They have some temporary challenges, and we are seeking as the government to see how we might use our contacts to work along with them.
Cooper called the Hilton Hotel on Bay Street iconic. We reached out to management at the Hilton, but got no response locally or from Hilton Global.
We are keen to see the property remain open, operational. We want to protect the jobs.
Well, the president of the Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union speaking out on the impact of the Hilton's closure could have on over 100 employees who face termination in just a few weeks. Megan Shepard has that angle.
A letter was sent out to employees of the Hilton Hotel, informing them of the closure, which is expected to take place on February 15th. President of the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union, Darren Woods, says they met with hotel officials this morning for further clarification.
They sent us a note saying that they were closing, and of course they're a business-oriented hotel. So unlike the regular travelers, unless business was up, and so because that area seemed to be down for them, so we got the note. So we called them this morning to kind of get a little bit more information in terms of what does the closure mean, whether it's a temporary closure, closing for some renovation, or permanent. But by all accounts, it seems to be a permanent closure and complete because it affects all of the employees who are on the property.
Woods adds that hotel officials informed him that they would be in discussions with the government as well regarding the closure. Woods says he met with the employees who were not too pleased with the news.
There are 123 persons. Out of that, 62 are from the bargaining unit and are members. And so the concern from the employees, of course, is, well, we just came out of the Christmas. We thought things were going to be this and that. And of course, entitlements. They want to know what are their entitlements. They want to be sure that they will be paid. As
for the next step for the union, he says they plan to meet with the Ministry of Labor to ensure that all employees receive what they're owed.
There still has to be more meetings to ascertain entitlements, emoluments, and all those stuff to be paid out to the employees.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
In other news, a woman was shot and killed shortly after she arrived at church for a prayer meeting last night. She was hit by a stray bullet during a shooting incident on Robinson Road and Ida Street. A 17-year-old boy is in police custody in connection with that incident that has left the victim's fellow church members and former co-workers in shock.
Her car was parked at the left of me, and she was trying to come into the church. I opened up the door, and she was trying to come in.
It's a moment Apostle Kevin Grant said he never thought he would have to live through, standing outside his church over the bloodstains of one of his members. 60-year-old Claudette Capron was shot and killed around 7 last night as she exited a vehicle with her sister to walk into prayer meeting. The pastor said the innocent decision to turn back for her mask unfortunately cost her life.
We heard all kind of bullets from inside the church, but we heard it on the main Robinson Road. And by the time I opened the door, the sister, the member who was a member of my church, her sister was coming with her, she got hit.
He said what ensued was utter chaos as church members on the inside ran out to find Capron in a pool of blood. According to police press liaison Audley Peters, the woman was hit by stray bullets from a nearby shootout.
A party went to a house to collect a friend, and on their arrival at that residence, they were approached by a male who left that residence brandishing a firearm. The male ran from the residence, and as he ran, the suspect who brandished the firearm started to discharge that weapon at him.
It played out like the scene from a movie, with the man then running towards Robinson Road with the gunman firing behind him.
The suspect continued discharging his firearm, and as a result, the lady who was exiting her vehicle to attend a prayer meeting at a church here on the grounds was shot in the chest and face several times.
With one man in custody being questioned in relation to this incident, Capron's family and friends are left to mourn her tragic death. A former employee of the Bahamas Communication and Public Officers Union, those who worked with her in shock over the horrific way in which her life was taken.
You can't go to a prayer meeting nowadays without, having to dodge away in one of these Middle Eastern countries where, there's war going on. No, this is Nassau, Bahamas.
Alva Barnett was one of 3 employees who started at BCPOU with Capron. She said they are all in disbelief.
She used to pick me up in the mornings for work. And so we compensated a lot getting to and from work. And so she was always a joy to work with. Always happy, always jovial.
Capron's pastor now left assisting her family, but also the church members who witnessed the horrific ordeal.
Many of them are hurt. Many of the family came as much as they could last night. So we really lifting up our sisters and the rest of the siblings in this tragedy in our country.
A team of investigators, DEA officers, Royal Bahamas Defense Force officers, and emergency medical services personnel rushed to the Eastern Road last night following reports of a plane crash in nearby waters. But as Bertha McDermott tells us, their search turned up empty.
The 2-hour-long search for a downed aircraft, which drew a crowd to the Eastern Road last night, has been halted after no plane wreckage was found, according to police press liaison officer ASP Audley Peters.
At this time, we've suspended the search.
Around 9:30 Tuesday night, police reported a plane crash in the area of Solomon's Lighthouse along the Eastern Road. But after 2 hours of searching, he told reporters Tuesday night that there were no signs of life or debris.
There was no debris found of any plane in the vicinity. Subsequently, our search is ended, and we will continue the search first thing in the morning.
The police press liaison added that air traffic control said there were no planes in that area during that time. However, this doesn't mean a plane didn't go down. He explained that an aircraft may have not filed a manifesto with authorities. In light of this, officers returned at the crack of dawn, continuing their search, but once again, they found nothing.
Our officers would have returned to that site this morning sometime after 7 a.m. and the Marine Support Unit would have made a check of the shorelines of the northeastern section of New Providence, also a check of the circumference of Anthol's Island and Porgy Rock. They did not find any oil slick, any debris, or any persons in the area.
A drone was also launched for an aerial search. As for the person who made the call, Peter said he could not say who the individual was, but that they saw something go down.
Someone allegedly saw a plane going down, and they believe they saw what was a flare gun.
So was it a mayday from somebody on the plane?
It isn't. From what we got, it was not a mayday from a person on the plane.
But what did residents see that prompted someone to report a plane crash to police?
Information is that other individuals in the community would have seen that same burst or ball of light into the sky, so we can confirm conclusively that there was a sighting of a ball of light. And our investigators also would have collected footage.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bertha McDermott.
The Ministry of Education announcing that students across the Bahamas will return to school campuses for in-person learning on Monday. However, as students return to campuses, the Ministry of Health stressed the need for all to exercise extreme caution and adherence to health and safety protocols. In the first instance, all schools will begin with hybrid model, utilizing all health and safety protocols, including the wearing of masks, sanitization, social distancing, temperature checks, staggered breaks, outdoor eating, and quarantine and isolation when applicable. Well, following the government's announcement that its draft for the legalization of cannabis would soon be completed, the Bahamas Christian Council is speaking out with the opposition, asking government to consult with them before moving forward.
We got very much a good clarity from his perspective on the cannabis industry and our need to push back against the government of the day in the need for legislation going forward in the first quarter without consultation.
Opposition leader Michael Pintard and other members of the Free National Movement paid a courtesy call on the Christian Council today. He said the church remains the moral conscience of the country, adding the opposition can benefit from the council's feedback.
While many persons say that you cannot legislate morality, the truth is laws create culture. And we believe that the opinion of the faith-based organizations are important in terms of shaping the kind of culture we want in the Bahamas.
Temperatures dipping tonight. Meteorologist Greg Thompson joins me in studio with our first look at weather. Good evening, Greg.
Thanks, Kyle, and welcome everybody for our first look at weather on this nice Wednesday evening. Temperatures managed to get down to 53 here in the capital last evening, 48 in Grand Bahama. We don't think we're going to see those low 50s. We could see some mid 50s. 72 outside our studios right now under mostly clear skies, some patchy clouds across portions of the Bahamas. East-southeast winds at 8 miles per hour. Winds are turning more towards that warm source. And your feels like temperature at 70 degrees. Satellite view, quiet weather once again across the islands. That high pressure remains in charge. Some patchy clouds drifting up towards the capital and into the northwest Bahamas. That frontal boundary still persistent across the southeastern islands. Some showers and isolated thunderstorms near the Turks and Caicos as well as Inagua. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come, what the CDC's new Level 4 advisory could mean for the hotel industry, and exploring investment opportunities in Dubai. Stay tuned.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
National Security Minister Wayne Monroe speaking out on the murder of a 60-year-old woman. He says it's simply unacceptable that a woman can be gunned down on her way to a prayer meeting. Jasmine Brown has more.
The National Security Minister weighing in on that murder this afternoon, not only calling it shocking, but also insisting it has shown how far society has fallen.
We've reached a point now where the young men don't seem to have regard not only for their lives, but the lives of anybody else. There seems to be a descent from standards. 31 years ago when I came to the bar, you would have thought that there was something called street standards where that wouldn't happen and where you didn't see it happening.
Monroe, who spoke on the sidelines of the launch of the Bahamas Department of Corrections video visitation system, was reacting to the country's latest homicide. Police reported that a gunman who was in pursuit of another man on Robinson Road inadvertently shot a woman who was getting out of her car to attend a prayer meeting on Tuesday night.
There's no acceptable level of any crime.
Despite a recent uptick in murders last year, Acting Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernander said earlier this week that the force is committed to reducing gun violence. Fernander also said several murders from 2021 were solved in recent weeks. Monroe commended the work of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, saying its CLARE officers are determined to tackle the uptick in violent crimes.
The police, as the arraignment in court this week showed, are resolute, and when you do these things, catching you and calling you to account. We also seek to get strategies from them, which they should make plain for the Commissioner's policing plan for 2022.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, the Bahamas has once again been bumped up to a level 4 on the U.S. Centers for Disease Control travel advisory list, a move the president of the Bahamas Hotel and Tourism Association says does not bode well for the industry. Christina Dragovich tells us more.
What was supposed to be a year of economic rebound getting off to a slow start due to rising COVID-19 levels in the country.
A level 4 designation is not good for our business.
President of the Bahamas Hotel and Tourism Association, Robert Sands, says the recent escalation to a level 4 on the CDC's travel health advisory list means business, including vital group business, will likely be impacted.
The short answer is that it will impact some business going forward, but I think more and more people are learning how to live with this pandemic and traveling to destinations where they're satisfied that they're taking the pandemic seriously and putting in place the protocols to live and work with it.
This comes after the Bahamas enjoyed a brief period at a lower level 2 advisory just before the holiday season brought a spike in cases.
Even though hotels did well, I think if we did not have that change during that particular time period, they might have done better.
173 new COVID-19 cases were reported yesterday. Sands says he's hopeful the surge will subside soon as the tourism industry works toward economic recovery.
We are hopeful that this current Omicron variant is plateauing, and hopefully the numbers won't continue to grow and they will continue to decrease, because we cannot stay at this level 4 designation.
Reporting for our news, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Over the next few months, the Bahamas will maintain a presence at the World Expo in Dubai. The pavilion set up there will hopefully generate a lot of interest in the Bahamas, especially by way of investment opportunities. Jerome Sawyer reports.
For the next 3 months, this pavilion at World Expo in Dubai will serve as a gateway to the Bahamas in so many ways. Every day, hundreds will visit, leading to possible vacation stays or long-term investments.
Being a player in the world is a key component to our success in the future, because connecting minds to create a future is an important statement. And if you're not there in the conversation, then, unfortunately, you're not going to be an active participant.
To the average visitor, it would appear the pavilion is just displaying art and aspects of culture. But dig a bit deeper and you begin to realize these displays are designed to present opportunities.
It's intended to look at ways in which we can make travel between the islands a lot easier. Logistics in terms of getting products from the different islands into the main centers, especially fresh produce.
Visitors here are global citizens. Dubai has 9 million expats and 1 million citizens. That's not the people coming here just to visit the Expo 2020 site. And here to greet them is a team of 8 Ministry of Tourism staff temporarily stationed in Dubai for this expo. Rose Frazier, a senior executive at the ministry, is part of the pavilion staff.
We're like ambassadors, we're here to make sure the Bahamas shine, make sure the Bahamas is projected in the right light. We have a lot of visitors that come through the pavilion. They ask a lot of questions. Some of them didn't even know about the Bahamas. So we're here to almost like to sell the Bahamas and let them know, where the Bahamas is, and the Bahamas is open and we're ready for business.
And while the Bahamas' pavilion does not begin to compare in size or cost to many of the larger nations, it is hoped that the warm greetings and the great environment and the displays will leave people with a lasting impression, and that can only mean good business. From Dubai, reporting for our news, I'm Jerome Sawyer.
Our thanks, Jerome. Still to come, the prison launches its pilot electronic inmate visitation program, and PGA action continues in Exuma. Stay tuned.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is Our News. Welcome back. The Bahamas Department of Correctional Services launched its pilot electronic inmate visitation program this morning. The program allows inmates to get video visits using computers set up at the Corrections Department. Acting Commissioner Don Clare says the program will also help to reduce smuggling.
Yesterday, and we discovered that they had 3 cell phones in the sole of their shoes, and almost like about a quarter pound of marijuana in their shoes, just yesterday. About a pound? Yes. You know, and they were immediately arrested, and they should be charged this afternoon by DEU. So this in itself will eliminate contraband smuggling.
Inmates have not had face-to-face visitations at the prison since the start of the pandemic 2 years ago. Prison officials say virtual visitation will help restore a sense of normalcy for inmates. National Security Minister Wayne Monroe says it will not be limited to New Providence.
We have persons whose visitors would not be resident in New Providence, in other countries, and for that matter in other islands. And we anticipate being able to facilitate visits from persons in other islands through the system. I'm told that although the bulk of inmates are from New Providence, we have representatives from every island in the Commonwealth in this facility.
2 of our men's college basketball players hit the hardwood. Marcellus Hall has more in sports.
All right, thanks, and welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. The college basketball season has had its shares of ups and downs in terms of games being postponed, canceled, all kinds of things due to Corona. Nassau native Sammy Hunter playing with Ole Miss. The Rebels taking on Missouri last night in their NCAA men's basketball matchup. It's been a tough season so far for Ole Miss, just above 500. They are able to unfortunately come up short against Missouri here. 78-53 ends up being the final score. Checking in on Sammy's stats. He finished up with just 16 minutes on the floor, 3 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist for the big man out of New Providence. As for Grand Bahama native, Franco Miller, he's playing with Florida Gulf Coast. They went to overtime last night. Gulf Coast getting the win, 93-91. They improved to 12-7 on the season. Franco, again, coming off the bench in this one, taking a look at his stats. Played 28 minutes, unable to get on the score chat, but he did finish up with 1 assist in the ball game. We'll keep an eye on their progress as the season goes on. On to some golf news. We're over in Exuma, into the final day of the Exuma Golf Challenge down there, and so far so good for play. They have been able to get this tournament extremely well attended. It has been an interesting situation there, and right now it's the first PGA Tour event on the tour, the Bahamas Great Exuma Classic, kicking things off on the PGA side of things through 3 days of competition. Taking a look at your leaderboard, you see your leader right there in the aqua shirt. He's your current leader on the board, and we'll see exactly how he does as the tournament again wraps up today. We'll give you details on that coming up for you tomorrow. And that is indeed your look at sports here on this Hump Day Wednesday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you.
And it's almost weekend. Greg is up next with a check on weather.
Welcome to our news, and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Welcome back to Our News. Sunny skies tomorrow. Finally, Greg is back with our extended weather forecast.
Thank Thanks again, Kyle, and welcome back, everybody, for our second look at weather. That ridge of high pressure remains a dominant weather feature across the islands, keeping us with some nice, beautiful conditions. Persistent frontal boundary near the southeast Bahamas, generating a couple isolated showers near the Turks and Caicos as well as the Inagua area. We expect as this high slides out towards the east, our winds will turn more east to southeast and eventually southeasterly over the next couple of days. So some of that moisture near the southeast Bahamas will lift back towards the central Bahamas, so we could see some isolated showers across that area later on in the week before we do see another frontal boundary get here by the weekend, and that should usher in a nice change in our air mass once again. Boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. Your winds will be out of the southeast to south at 10 to 15 knots. Seas 2 to 4 feet. High tide will be at 8:54 tonight. For the southeast Bahamas, a caution flag still posted for you guys down there. Slightly stronger winds east to southeast, 15 to 20 knots. Seas will be running 4 to 6 feet over the ocean. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Wednesday. Beautiful weather expected for the rest of the week, and then we see a frontal boundary on the weekend. That's your look at weather. Back to you, Kyle.
Well, thank you for joining us for Our News Tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Have a good evening, Bahamas.